Welcome to Kings of Kimuras.
Welcome to another episode of Kings of Kimuras. I'm here with Jen. She's one of our Jiu-Jitsu purple belts. She's trained with us for quite a while. I thought it'd be interesting to have her here because we haven't had a woman on the podcast yet, but you kind of have like an interesting story that got you involved in Jiu-Jitsu, and I wonder like how many other women have a similar story but just don't like talk about it, you know?
For sure. Do you want me to kind of just go over what?
Yeah, just kind of like how you got involved with Jiu-Jitsu, you know?
So I was fashion blogging for years leading up to 2018. I was pretty deep into it and at the mall a lot, I would say. And so I was pretty oblivious at the time. I was on my phone a lot, just deep into fashion blogging world, going up an escalator one day at the mall in 2018. And it was the summertime. I had on shorts and seriously had no idea what was going on around me. I get to the top of the escalator and a couple girls come up to me and they are freaking out. They're like, there has been a guy following you now for, I don't even know how long. He's also been following other women around the mall, and he was just now taking videos and pictures up your shorts. And needless to say, I was in shock, and the shock kind of took over, and the only thing I was able to get out was, give me your phone. I tried to get him to give it to me. He wouldn't, and he just went right back down the escalator and left. And I had to go get a cop and tell him about it. Long story short, I did my investigating myself because they didn't really do a whole lot for me. So I dug into it and found him online. Somebody told me they went to college with him. I reported it. I was so excited to have all the information for the investigator. They did nothing with it. I think it was just such a common thing that happens probably every single day. Mm-hmm. And they just sort of dropped it. And I was very depressed afterwards. I went into a pretty deep depression. I just remember feeling like gross. I felt like I should have done something. I was mad at myself. It was just this mix of emotions. And I think I had talked about it a little bit online. And then an old friend that I went to school with that I had known for about 20 years reached out to me, and you know him, David, and he was like, you really should learn some self-defense. And I didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was when he said those words. I was like, I knew it was martial arts, but I didn't really know what it was. And I was interested right away because I knew I needed to become more aware as a person in general. And I couldn't go around being oblivious anymore with creeps all around.
Yeah.
And so I started jiu-jitsu in 2018, that summer. And I kind of thought it was going to be a cool thing to show on my Instagram, if I'm being really honest, because it was something different that no other fashion blogger was doing. And I didn't know I was going to love it. I fell in love with the sport, and I've been doing it ever since. And I haven't even really taken a break other than a couple injuries here and there, but it just became my lifestyle and my whole family's lifestyle. So
yeah, that's something else I wanted to touch on, is that pretty uncommon, honestly, that the wife is the first one that starts jiu-jitsu training. Normally it's like a kid or like the dad and a kid, but it was very cool to see you do that. And then it kind of like motivated the rest of your family to start. And, you know, Knox just did his first tournament, and, you know, I never know how somebody's going to do in a tournament or like how they feel after they compete, because that's the biggest thing is like, you don't want somebody to feel like they failed, even though they like went out there and they tried, because really there, you know, that whole saying of like, there is no failure. I mean, that's truth, right? If you go out there and you compete, you try your best, that's all anybody wants. And he did really well. And I was very happy to see him, like, even after he lost his first match, he was just like so excited to be there, and he was like ready to go back and do it again, you know?
Thank you. We are very proud of him. Yes. So Knox, so he started training, I think it was a year and a half or 2 years after I did. It was something right around that.
He was pretty small, because when I see the photos, he was like in the small kids class.
Yeah, he was 5. He's 11 now. and he's been training ever since. So I started 2018. The Knox started probably like 2020-ish. Mm-hmm. And then it was probably a year later is when Rob started, my husband.
Yeah.
And he's been training ever since too. So it really helps that we all train as a family because it helps us to stay on track as a family.
Yeah.
And we kind of hold each other accountable. When one of us starts to kind of fall off, someone pushes the other one. And it really has helped us a lot as a family, as a unit.
And something else too that you like, I've noticed a difference in you since you started training. It's not just you have martial arts skill. You also have like a confidence that money cannot buy the confidence that you gain from training. I've probably any martial arts, but like I would say specifically jiu-jitsu because I have experience in that. And I just see it in people all the time. We're close to a college here, and I'll have young guys come in and they're very introverted. It's a college where there's a lot of people that are engineers, right? So those are people that don't really have, like, I don't want to say all of them don't have social skills, but they're young guys that are like very dedicated into becoming this profession. And then they come in here, and within like a year or two of training, they're like one of the guys, and they have like a whole different personality and a confidence where they can approach people and talk to them. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really realize that they need, like it's something different that happens in you,
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to talk about too, is that I thought I was a confident person before when I was doing like my fashion blogging, and I've done a lot of things before that. I did sales, I did a lot of stuff, but I just want to say to every single woman out there, jiu-jitsu will give you an inner confidence that no fancy outfit, no Botox, no car, no house, no boyfriend, nothing can give you the confidence that martial arts will give you. And I mean that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. It's it's hard to explain that to somebody too. If they walk in and they try a class. I know every person that comes in and tries a class for the first time, they say a couple of things. One, I've never done this before, and I always say like, yeah, you're new, right? Everybody has not done this before if you're new. But secondly is I'm nervous. And normally they don't tell me they're nervous until after the trial, and they'll be like, I was very nervous, but then I really enjoyed it. I had a good time, like my expectations were like exceeded,
It's something you really can't put into words like after your first class. Like I was afraid of sweating. I didn't want to touch sweat. That's another thing I think women are afraid of, like, getting down on the ground with sweaty guys. Well, that you get over that really quickly because I will tell you I'm a germ freak. Even to this day, I'm a germ freak. And so it was really weird for me to like touch other people's sweat. But then it was so fun and so weird and different than anything that I'd ever done in my life. I just knew I had to keep going with it. And it was very uncomfortable, I want to say, for a while. I mean, I had big sweaty guys on top of me, and, I had to figure out how to get out of there. And that's true self-defense right there, because if you think about it, if you're in a dark alley, are you most likely going to have a woman attacking you, or are you going to have a guy? Most likely it's going to be a man. And so it's realistic self-defense. It's real self-defense.
Yeah. But since then, like, you haven't been in a situation like that. Do you feel like you're more aware now of like what's happening around you as opposed to like then when you...
Oh, without a doubt. Probably too much awareness. I mean, now I'm always checking my surroundings when I go to the grocery store, when I'm by myself, wherever I am. I am a different person, 1,000%. I feel like I could truly handle myself against any average male, even if they claim to know how to fight. Most men don't. Most people don't. So I feel very confident that if somebody approached me at my car, I have a lot of things in my back pocket that I could pull out.
Yeah, that's something too that when, and I've done like a lot of these self-defense seminars and working with the police station, and I've had some of those guys come in and present, and they always say the same thing, that criminals are looking for an easy target. They're looking for someone that is not paying attention. They're alone. They look scared. Maybe they're fumbling with something, phone or keys or whatever. So it's important that if you are, whether you're a woman or a man, and you're going to, let's say you're leaving somewhere and going to your vehicle, just kind of take a look around. You know, if you see somebody that's kind of hanging around and like looking and like seeing what's going on, you know, that person may be up to something. You know, they may not, but like it's a good idea to keep an eye on them. And then just go ahead and have your keys out, right?
Absolutely. Like you said, they know, they can sense when somebody is confident and when they're not. And just by the way somebody walks, you know, but you can just tell somebody that's just a little bit, you know, you can just tell the ones that are a target versus the ones that are like, you know, chest out, like, you know, you just have a different disposition when you've trained.
Yeah.
And I think those guys sense that, and they're probably not going to go for the girl that looks like, oh, I don't want to mess with her. I don't know, but I just think that the confidence you gain is priceless.
Yeah. I know for me, sometimes I get like in a, you know, I'm trying to get in a store or something, or I'm trying to go somewhere quickly. And I just kind of like forget about my surroundings sometimes, or I'm like looking at my phone, checking a list. And I've had some people like come up on me, not like trying to rob me, or more than likely they're just trying to sell me something, you know, like,
right.
And it can be startling even for me, because I'm like, man, I should have seen that coming, you know. And I'm just glad that since I've started training martial arts, I haven't had to use anything that I've learned, but I've definitely been in situations where I had to use my words, and like that got me out of it.
Exactly. You know? And you have the muscle memory that you know exactly what to do if somebody comes up from behind you, you know, to hand fight immediately, you know, whatever. But, yeah.
So you competed before, and I don't put a big emphasis on competing. I think it's good to do for sure. It'll give you a sense of kind of where your skill level is at or what you need to improve on. But I remember you have your first competition. I think that they like put you in the wrong bracket.
They did.
And as soon as I saw the other girl, I'm like, they're not the same skill level. I mean, she hit you with like a hip toss or something. And then there was like, hey, stop the match. But,
oh yeah,
I'm sure that was an experience, right?
Yeah, it really actually every one of my competitions was an experience. I will say I didn't know what was going on. I just know that they were very aggressive and seemed to be out of my weight class too, which seemed to happen every time I competed. Yeah, it was a very eye-opening and great experience. Every single time I learned what to fix as far as like the holes in my game, and let's say I pushed past some fear every single time I stepped out.
I think that's every person that has competed. There's some fear of the unknown, and your mind will play tricks on you. So it's very important as a competitor to kind of push that voice out of your head. You know, I know that I've been there before where I look at the other competitor, I'm like, wow, this guy's big, or, you know, he's been training this long, or, you know, he's this skill level. And all of that is just negative self-talk that will psych you out if you allow it to.
I did that every single time. I made the mistake of every time looking up who I was going to fight. And I was like, she's way more muscular than me, like, or whatever, or she's way more skilled. And those girls are, I mean, women competitors are nothing to mess around with. I mean, they are very, very good. And I would say more technical than the men overall. You can't make any little mistake. And I mean, I just started like doing weight training this year, which is something I should have been probably doing all along. But that's the thing about jiu-jitsu. It's helped me slowly but surely kind of improve every area of my life. And that's what it'll do for you. That's what it'll do for everyone. It's not just about the jiu-jitsu. It's about what it does outside of it too, and in your home, and the discipline that it, yeah, it
improves your whole life. I know for me, when I started training, I was, you know, probably about 230 pounds, and I lifted weights a lot. It wasn't that I was like completely out of shape, but I was not far from it. And I did a lot of things like mountain biking and road biking and kayaking and golfing, and a lot of things that took most of my time. And then when I found jiu-jitsu, I kind of quit everything else. But it wasn't until I was probably about a purple belt where I realized that doing jiu-jitsu wasn't enough. And I started lifting weights pretty regularly. And now I do like a 4-day-a-week type of lift. And I'm back up to 230, but I'm not like I was before, you know.
And it's just become your lifestyle now, lifting weights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just another thing that I do during the day.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get to. And I think it's just, I think I just do everything slow. I kind of learned jujitsu a little bit slower than most, I would say. And this is coming a little bit later, but I feel like slow and steady is sometimes the way to go, you know?
It's your own pace. And that is jujitsu. It's when I hear people compare themselves to other people, whether they're in the gym or somewhere else, you know, every person is doing it on their own time. And we all have lives outside of jujitsu, so we can't dedicate 24 hours a day to it.
Exactly.
If you could be a world champion multiple times over, but then everybody would be, right? If we're all training the equal amount of times. But it's important to not forget that life happens outside of jiu-jitsu too, right? And it does affect your life in a positive way, but there's, you know, sometimes that you need to do something different, right? You need to step back from jiu-jitsu and just enjoy the process of life.
Exactly. And then that's why I mixed in boxing 2 years ago too, so that way I could have both to go back and forth with. It's fun to kind of do it all. Keeps it interesting, but
yeah, I know for me, I got to the point where I didn't feel stagnant in my jiu-jitsu training, but I felt like I needed to evolve it. And so I started adding in the judo as well. And that's, you know, it's learning a whole nother martial art that I can apply to what I'm doing, and then I can teach it to everybody.
Exactly.
So I wanted to go back to, you know, you were talking about how you get nervous in competition. I've kind of figured out a way that works for me. I go up to the person that I'm competing with that day, and I'll just talk to them. It would be the same as if I'm in the gym and I'm getting ready to roll with them. I'm going to go up and we're going to talk and like, hey, how long you been training? You know, just kind of like friendly talk, you know, and it gets me in a headspace of like, this is a normal person, and I have nothing to be afraid of, and I'm going to be fine and compete. And since I've been doing that, I've like competed a lot better.
But do you also do it to get inside of their head?
No, I don't do it for any other reason. I don't want to psych anybody out. I want to get the best version of that person. You know,
Exactly.
I feel like playing any kind of like mind games is taking away from like my purpose of being there, which is to enjoy it and to have fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
A girl did that to me one time. Well, she I don't think it was a strategy. I don't know, but it worked. We were, you know, about to go out there and fight each other, and she turned around and started talking to me in the line, and I got very friendly with her. We hit it off, and then I loosened up so much. I was like, oh, she's really sweet. She's, you know, she probably doesn't know that much. I don't know. We went out there and she wrecked me. So I'm just like, you know, that's another thing. I was like, I can't get too comfortable.
I feel like I do better when I do get comfortable. But again, I'm not trying to psych the person out, but I also know when we step on the mat, and maybe it's because I've competed so long and I'm at the black belt level, and I know that everybody is coming, you know, no matter what they look like, you know, their physical abilities, everybody's going to try to come after you.
I've learned that too. Yes. You cannot judge a book by its cover at all. You don't know what they're capable of, no matter what. Like, yeah.
Well, it's the same in the gym. I've had a couple people that, you know, maybe got injured by somebody that's lower ranked than them. And they're like, man, I'm never going to sleep on a lower belt again. I'm like, this is a valuable lesson. You know, I've learned that lesson. I know that every belt that I've ever gotten, every person that was ranked below me got better. You know, they were trying to come after me more. And the higher belts were always coming after me. And once you get to the black belt, everybody's going after you. There are no more like easy rolls. You know, there's easy rolls in a sense of if I'm a black belt and I'm training with like a white belt or a blue belt, that's an easier roll to some extent. But I mean, every person is trying to submit you or pass your guard or give you a hard time. You know?
Yeah. You have to stay very patient.
Yeah. I think the thing that I had to learn as a black belt is, you know, I have the ability to hurt people, and I need to not get overly aggressive in rolls, you know, especially when you're training with a beginner. Sometimes they do something that they shouldn't do, twisting fingers or like landing on you in a weird way or hitting you with a knee or an elbow. And you just kind of have to like take a deep breath and like, hey, I know it was an accident. Don't do it again. You know?
Yeah. But that takes time to develop that patience. And
as a lower belt, if somebody hit me, I just wouldn't say anything. I would just turn it up to competition speed. And that's not good for anybody, you know, like the person feels like you're just beating them, and other people that are watching are like, what is going on with this person?
Right, exactly. You get more and more calm as you go, and that's the goal, is to be as calm as possible when you roll. And that's helped me with everything in life, to just be calm, because I have had anxiety my whole life, and it's just helped keep it in check. And keep my hormonal rage in check. That's another thing. Women deal with a lot of hormones, and I can't think of a better thing to do than take it out on the mats.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on women's hormones. I'm just going to, if you said it, okay.
I said it, and it's true. Our hormones are all over the place. And so, if anything, women need it at times more than men, an outlet to get their aggression out.
I can understand that. I know men tend to not talk about their emotions or their feelings. So, guys will have a bad day and they'll come in here and train, maybe not ever tell you like what's going on with them, but you can tell something is going on with them. And once they train, sometimes people will like open up a little bit more, or sometimes they just needed that. And then like, okay, I can now go back with like a clear mind and focus on what I need to do.
Yes. You can see the difference in everyone when they leave, that they are in a better mood, but women are more vocal and will take it out on their significant other. I mean, we're all guilty of it. And it's just, I'm just being honest. It will help you in your marriage. It'll help you with everything, with your kids. You'll be much better off with all of your relationships.
What has been one of the like most difficult things you've found about training jiu-jitsu?
Honestly, well, for me, it's the fact that I've been on the smaller side, feeling like I have to be extra technical because everyone's bigger than me. But I've learned to really work around that, and I'm just used to it now. But that was definitely a frustration for me for a long time, just being the small one. And like my ribs were always getting popped out of place for a while, because I was just always rolling with people that were way too big. But that's why I've been doing strength training to help prevent that. It's really for injury prevention. So,
and you started training with us at a time that we didn't have a lot of women. We had a couple of ladies that had come over from a UFC gym. But at that time, there were just not too many women. It was
exactly. There was one, Sam, she was the one, and she was a huge reason why I stayed, because she was like my size and she was super patient with me. And, I probably wouldn't have stuck around as long if she wasn't there. But, there was like, I would say like 2 or 3 women at the most in each class that I was in, at the now we have a lot. I mean, things have changed the last almost 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we have a women's program that's run by Michelle, one of our brown belts. And on average, her class will have 10, 12 ladies in it.
Yeah. It's super exciting.
Yeah. And then pretty much every class that you go to, there are women training in the class.
Oh yeah.
And you can always judge a gym, I think, on, what kind of gym they are, like how open they are. And I don't want to say like the instructor skill, because really that has nothing to do. It's like more of an open feeling, right? Like
absolutely
a welcoming feeling. You can judge a gym on how many women and men are training, based on that.
Big time. And every woman that I've talked to, I mean, I don't know other gyms because this is the only one that I've been at, for 7 years, but they all say the same thing, that they feel welcome here. No one's creepy. Like like you think it's going to be the scary thing rolling with guys. These guys, it's jiu-jitsu. It's not anything like that. Like, it'll help you get over your fear, I feel like, when you do roll with men. But there is a ladies only. So if you feel uncomfortable, go to the ladies only and start there.
Yeah. There's definitely a skill to learning how to train with women as a man. And there's different skill levels too, right? There's some, like a woman that was like a Gabby Garcia, I'll take like the far extreme. You wouldn't have to train gentle with her.
Right.
You could like use a little strength and size, but then you have a woman that's 100 pounds and, as somebody that's 230 pounds, you have to learn how to not put all your pressure on them, And it's the same with training with kids. I feel like that's where I kind of developed that skill is training with a 3 and a 4-year-old. You know, obviously I'm not like knee cutting a kid
Yeah.
like that or like crushing them from mount.
Guillotine.
Yeah, so you have to know how to vary your abilities, and for me that is like a true understanding of if somebody knows jiu-jitsu, can they train with somebody no matter their age or size or skill level?
For sure, yes. As you go up in rank, you understand how to flow roll more and more, and so that's why now I really only choose to roll with men that are upper belts for that reason, because they know how to flow and they're not going to just like put all of their weight and just stay on me and crush me the whole time, because that's not going to do anything for either person. So.
Right. Do you where do you see yourself in another 3 or 4 years with jiu-jitsu? Or
I don't ever see myself quitting this sport. I'm going to continue to train until the very end. I'm going to try to train for the rest of my life. So I want to be a jiu-jitsu grandma too, and just like the jiu-jitsu grandma out there. And
I've seen her.
Yes.
She competes too.
Yes,
so
I
it's
know.
pretty
It's
impressive.
super inspiring and impressive, and that's definitely what I'm going to do.
How has your, you know, obviously your immediate family trains, but how has the rest of your family, like when you told them initially, hey, I'm training jiu-jitsu now, what was their response to that?
My mom thought it was super hardcore. I mean, my brother did taekwondo growing up, actually. And so it's funny because I watched him get his like black belt when he was like 8 years old. And you know, no, I'm not knocking taekwondo at all, but I watched him do taekwondo growing up, and I knew I wanted to do martial arts from that age. I was doing dancing at the time. But anyway, I watched him do what he did. And then as we got older, he wasn't really into it anymore. I think he quit when he was probably like 12 or 13. But they knew that it was something that it would have been better for me. Like if I should have started when I was young, but I didn't. I started now, and I'm sure it's for a reason. I think it's going to allow me to train longer. The fact that I did start when I was like probably 31-ish, 38 now. And first of all, I feel younger now than I did when I was 21. So that's a huge thing. But my family they don't really even understand it now. I don't think they even know what jiu-jitsu is, to be honest. They've seen some of my competition footage in the past, and they were just like, oh my gosh, Jen, that's so like, that looks a little hardcore. You know what I mean? My mom doesn't understand it, but they think it's cool, I think.
Yeah, I've trained now. This will be my 16th year. And the only person in my family that has ever watched me was my oldest half brother. When I was a white belt, I took him to, he was like still in high school. I took him to film me compete in Naga. And it was my my second tournament. I had no coach there. I just signed up. I found out about the tournament from a guy at the gym. I didn't even know like jiu-jitsu tournaments were a thing. And I go, wait, you can like sign up and compete? And the guy's like, yeah, there's this one this weekend. And I go, okay. I signed up for it. And I went there, and I got beat every single match. But I remember there was a guy there that ref my match named Steve Hall. And I had no idea who he was. And this is how dumb I was. I had no idea that the referees were all like black belts. I thought they were just some guy that they had hired, you know.
Just random dudes.
Yeah, and this guy's like giving me advice, like, hey, in order to finish that triangle, you need to do this. And I looked at him like, what does this guy know? And then years later, I saw this guy as a multiple-time Masters black belt world champion, and I went and trained with him. And I told him my whole experience about doubting him, and he just laughed. He was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. But I didn't have a great experience competing as a white belt. I think that I really didn't enjoy it ever. And I don't know why I continued to do it. I felt like this was the way to get better. I see other people that are competing, and they're winning, and they're improving, and they're getting belts. So I go, well, maybe that's the route for me. And I never won a single match as a white belt. I lost every single one of them. It wasn't until I was a blue belt that I won my first tournament, and I won a gold. And then my coach goes, you should do the absolute too. And I did the absolute, and I went to the final, and I lost in the final. I told this story on the last podcast that the guy that beat me in that final. I've seen him since I had my black belt, and the guy's still a blue belt.
Really?
Yeah, he took a bunch of time
Still?
off. Yeah, he took time off. He's significantly bigger than he was, and life happens. So
Yeah,
but
sure.
the guy was so good. I remember like feeling like destroyed because I'd gone to the final and I thought I was going to win, and I ended up losing. But yeah, that's the way it goes. You never know who's going to be the one that makes it to black belt. I've been wrong 99% of the time on who is going to stick around and who is not.
For sure. Yeah. No, I definitely want to make it to black belt.
Mm-hmm. Well, you will. I mean, there's the secret to making it to black belt is showing up and training.
For sure.
There's no other, obviously learning skills, but if you're showing up and you're training, you're going to learn,
Oh, absolutely. Just like I used to think you guys were kidding when you would say like, there's no secret to this. Like at the end of all the, the classes, there's no secret to this. It's just showing up. And I'm thinking, you guys have so many secrets. Like
there's a lot of secrets in the sense of,
yeah.
Knowing more knowledge than somebody, but
Yes.
that's not necessarily secrets. That's just stuff you don't know yet.
Right. And now I get that. But at the time I was like, they're full of crap. But it's true. It's just muscle memory that you build over time.
It reminds me of, there's like a meme with Frodo where I forget, he asks something and he goes, okay, keep your secrets. Maybe he's like asking Gandalf or something.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I may have to put that like as an image here on this section of the.
You should. Because that's exactly how I felt at the beginning. But
So you got into striking too. That's something I never really got involved with. Like as a beginner, I remember I trained at a place that was an MMA school, and they had jiu-jitsu one night, and then they had open mat another night, and all the rest of the nights were striking. And I did the striking one time, maybe a couple of times, but one time I remember this because this is why I quit striking. There was a 16-year-old kid, Golden Glove boxer, and he just ate my lunch, little Hispanic kid. And I couldn't do anything. And on the grappling nights, I would just grab a hold of him and like take him down, and I could do whatever I wanted.
bet.
But when it was just straight boxing, I could not hit this kid. I felt so stupid. It was like punching in the air. I don't know any setups, and it's not like they taught you a bunch of stuff either. This was the early days of gyms where the strong survive pretty much.
with striking, you mean
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't really, you weren't learning
were
a
like-
whole lot of technique.
I
You were
mean,
just
they
kind
would-
of going into the sparring.
Yeah, they would teach a little bit of technique, and then be, okay, guys, time to spar.
Oh my.
And once you get lit up a few times, for me, I was like, this is this is not the place to learn striking.
No, I would have quit immediately if that happened here.
Yeah. More than half the class only did the cardio kickboxing, and the instructor was really good, but when it came to like the amateur, MMA guys, he didn't put as much effort in, or he would have one of like the lower ranked guys teaching that class, and because I'm sure that his moneymaker is the cardio kickboxing.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So if it was like that here, I wouldn't do it. I learned so much technique before I even sparred at all for the first time. Like went very, very slow. And still I'm basically like the only female now in the sparring, because that's newer to this gym. But it's like learning jiu-jitsu all over again with the striking. It's definitely another world and very challenging.
What do you remember the first time like you really got hit good?
Yeah, Josh Josh at the gym that his other gym that he trains at. I thought I was super cool. I got to go in the ring for the first time, and I think I walked into his punch really because he felt really bad afterwards. But that was a solid punch in my eye or something like that. Nothing wakes you up like getting hit in the face. And you can't tap like you can in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? You just have to keep going. And I remember like holding back tears. I was like about to cry and I was like, you can't cry, Jennifer. You can't do this. And so I'm like, this is what you wanted. And so I just kept going. But that was another thing that helped me push through more fear. And I plan on, I don't know if you're supposed to like put this out there and say, but I'm going to say it. I plan on definitely doing one competition with the boxing too.
Like a smoker?
Yes, like a smoker fight. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those smokers are good because most of them try to do a good job of ranking you as somebody that is at your level.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope it's not like the jiu-jitsu experience, my first match there. Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah, with jiu-jitsu, it's strange, especially once you get to, let's say you get to like a blue belt level, because you can go against somebody that has just gotten their blue belt or somebody that's about to get their purple belt. And on top of that, there may be somebody in there that is went through the kids' belts and they've already trained for 10 years and now they give them a blue belt.
Exactly. You have no idea who you're going to fight. Just like with Knox's competition with the gray belts. Like you were saying.
There's such a big variety.
Yes.
And a lot of instructors will kind of like sandbag a little bit on those belts. They'll put somebody, a gray belt. I feel like that's something maybe you're there for 3 years, 3.5 at the most. And some people will leave a kid there every belt for 2 years so that they can.
Really?
Well, especially these, competitive schools that pride themselves on, hey, look at all these kids winning belts or winning medals.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening. I'm just glad that it didn't kill his love for that. Like, I think if anything, it fired him up, and now he wants to do it again.
Yeah, that's the way it should.
Yeah.
And he has such fun when he trains that, sometimes I have to be like, hey, you need to take this a little bit more serious. But on the other side of that, I would rather have a kid that enjoys it more than takes it too serious.
Thank you. I agree. Because then it's not just, I feel like he's going to get burnt out less like this, don't you?
Yeah, the skill level will come. And we've had kids come, and recently we had some kids that were teens that came from another program that when I talk to the parents are like, they're just not enjoying this. And the whole point of them doing this is that they enjoy it. And, they need to be able to like, just be kids and train, and there was too much pressure put on them to win, and that's a thing that's more ego driven, I think, by the instructor or coach.
For sure. Oh yeah, for sure it is. And that's another thing. Like Knox does not have an ego, and like these other, I feel like that preteen age that he's at, most kids do already start to get an ego at that age, and especially in a sport like this where you're competing. You kind of like almost need a little bit of an ego when you're trying to win something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's not something that I'm going to like force my kid to have. I just want him to love the sport and do his best and get a lot out of it for his whole life. And just, he doesn't have to be a competitor. If he wants to do it, he wants to do it. But I feel like everyone should compete at least once.
Yeah. Has he done any other team sports?
Soccer when he was like 4, and that's it. And it's just been this.
Yeah. What about you? Did you grow up doing any other sports or just the dancing?
Just dancing. So I guess that sort of
like
counts.
What kind of dance are we talking about? Is it like
tap, jazz, hip hop? I did all of it. Yeah.
Okay.
I did that till I was like pre-teenage, and then I really just wanted to fight people though, and so that's what I think I love about boxing too. It's like dancing and fighting. It's like kind of a mixture of both. Did
you grow up getting in fights at school?
Never. I was the shy kid. I was so painfully shy. It's not even funny. And I feel like this would have helped my confidence a whole lot more if I had done something like this back then. But no, I did not play any sports, and you got picked on if you didn't play sports, especially in my little small country school. And or if you weren't like a cheerleader or whatever. And so I didn't do anything. So this was my first sport.
I know for me that if you went back and you asked people that I grew up with, do you think that Tony would have like eventually become a fighter or something in that industry? They would have probably all said yes, just because I was a troubled kid and I love to fight. If someone said something to me, that was just an excuse to try to fight.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were like that.
Well, I hung around with a lot of kids that were always in trouble, in and out of like juvie and stuff like that. And so that type of like mentality wears off on you, right? And you become almost like a gang. It wasn't a gang, but we were kids that skateboarded and we were always into something, and yet I would always get in fights at school, or like one of my friends would get a fight at school, and it was jiu-jitsu, I probably should have done it much earlier, if it was around, but I think it would have probably kept me out of a lot more trouble, or maybe even like a wrestling program. But where I grew up, we didn't have wrestling. It was, you did like basketball, football, or track and field.
Because that's the same with mine. So you went to a small town school.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. We didn't have wrestling or anything.
Yeah.
That would have been helpful.
Yeah, if you wanted to do wrestling, you had to go private school. And I had some friends that went to private school, but they were not the people that were doing wrestling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So, yeah. Well, do you plan on? You said planning on doing a smoker. Do you have like a time frame for when you'd like to do that, or is that not even in the wheelhouse yet?
It's not. It's not in the wheelhouse. I would like for probably my coach to be like, okay, I think you're ready now. I need to spar more, first of all, and I need to spar people more on my level. It's a little bit defeating because I'm only going against people that, like my coaches, so they're very good, and so I'm hoping more women come in so that it's a more realistic look, like somebody that's only been doing it for maybe a couple years, so that I could better prepare for something like that. But it's gonna happen.
What does Rob think about you doing a smoker?
He's all for it. He's like, I know you're going to do it. I know it's been a dream of yours since you were a kid. So he's like, I know. He supports it.
Yeah, that's very cool.
He's a big supporter.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can wrap it up here. That's some very good conversation. I appreciate you joining us here today.
Thank you so
and,
much.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just have to do this again some other time.
Absolutely. I loved it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, guys. And what is your Instagram handle so everybody can follow you?
It's Jeans and Jits. It's JNZJITS.
All right. And we'll put that up on the comments as well, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.
And that's a wrap for today's Kings of Kimura's episode. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey. Remember to keep training, stay curious, and always be ready for the next adventure. Until next time, keep your guards up and your minds open.